Anything from Joe?
Yeah, well, let me just,
Pardon?
I'm gonna see. No, Brian Park and Bill's iPad so far.
Else I said like this. I don't have my bill. Not that bill.
Now he's on.
We have 2 attendees.
Yes.
Hello, Joe. No,
Hello?
Joe.
You all look quite cozy in there.
You haven't joined the wrong meeting, Joe. This is the meeting in the new room.
Nice.
Do they have a meeting going on in the other room?
Yeah, there's going to be a public.
So there's going to be.
Everything.
Because I'm like,
And
I'm
I'm gonna start the recording.
Joe, could you hear us first?
Yeah, I got you. Thank you.
Okay, we can start. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. And it's Joe Valentine, Chair. Others in attendance, may we just go around the room, introduce yourself.
And Kelly,
John Memory. AJ Miller.
Ace Fairley.
John Walker,
And members of the public. Oh, no, member of the public, Bill
Will
Stableford.
Stableford.
And representing Colliers, John Copeland.
we have Joe.
Oh, Al over there.
And Al's over here in the corner.
Oh, listen, Al Goldberg in the corner.
Brian Park is from QA.
Oh, should we bring him aboard as a panel?
Yes,
Oh, Brian Park is,
Yes, he's.
Got
he's
it.
sitting in for Tom today.
Last time to go on vacation?
No, I think have you talked to, I think he's working.
I think he's working.
Yeah, I think he's just, he's working on this, this,
It's detailed design.
detailed design development. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We get a motion to approve the minutes. Then we'll just have a couple of things to discuss. but we'll get a motion.
To approve?
All in favor? All right, okay. Well, sorry, we have to have the discussion. I have a few things. If anybody else has something they should. Number 2, where it says approval of the minutes. The bottom of the life cycle analysis of the Eversource by provided service. This is the geothermal. And the bottom line, the bottom sentence says Joe Valentine suggests no decision. Colliers to look at getting a life cycle analysis of the system. Are you prepared for this meeting?
No.
No? Okay. That's in the minutes. And so can we get a date when you can make that available, and we'll put that in the future on the future agenda. You don't have to give us the date here, but if you present us with a date to, we'll put it on a future agenda. Done there. Ann Kelly, Joan Walker, meet with the Director of Finance. That's something that can be discussed today.
Not discussed today, hopefully by next weekend, next meeting. We're trying to get schedules right now.
Okay.
There's 5 of us that need to go, and it's not an easy task.
And Jeannie, could you put on that on the agenda for next week, or for next meeting rather? Lastly, just as a note, I was supposed to get QA&M in touch with Eversource, and that was done. I sent the email copying both. Okay.
and change the spelling of Dave's name.
Okay. Please do. I don't think there were any amendments.
Sure.
I don't think there were any changes to the minutes. Just those updates. Pardon?
Just spell it.
Oh, just the spelling. Can we, all in favor of approving the minutes with an update to the spelling as the only change? Aye. Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
One abstained because I was not at last meeting.
Thank you, Joe. Here's comments. Very brief. John and I had coffee a couple of days ago, and I asked him to look at the uses of each of the rooms as was designated by or was suggested by the survey that you had done, so that we can actually put a face to the faceless rooms, so we know that if there's something that we're not going to be able to do, we can either prioritize, if it's on whatever floor, we can prioritize it to a different floor, or we can say if that was scheduled for X floor, we can't do it, and that's what this is what you're going to lose in that room, not just an overall. Well, you're going to lose a room. You're actually going to lose this activity, which was scheduled. That's going to go back. You go back to Florida soon, or to California soon, right? What's happening? You go back to California soon, right? Might be January. January. Okay. God, that seems soon.
It's closer than it seems.
Yes. Thank you. Liaison reports. Al, I'll recognize you first if you'd like to go.
Just very briefly, we are still, of course, waiting to hear about the grant, the second grant from actually from the USDA, as I remember. And as we all know, Congress hasn't got their act together in terms of passing a budget. And until they pass a permanent budget, while our project remains on the official list, is not officially funded. If you ask me when we will know, I will hold up a mirror and ask you when you think the Congress is going to get a budget approved, and that will be the answer. So at the moment, there is no updated information, Joe, and I guess we can all follow the headlines, and then we'll perhaps know when that grant would possibly be awarded.
My understanding of those things that are in the budget, that a continuing resolution, which is what we have now and may have again soon, it's not an approval.
That's our understanding.
Right.
Yes.
It's only when the budget itself is, but they can go.
Then I just want to be clear, this is the second grant. We have a $4 million grant already. That is good.
Thank you, Joe. That's all I had.
Thank you, Al. Public comments. Bill, I'll recognize you in the room if you have.
I have no comment.
There was one person on the.
They don't have their hand raised.
Raise your hand if you want to talk, please. We're here.
Nope.
Okay. Next, review and approve invoice packet. Is that packet? This email to me? To everybody? Okay.
Let's move that.
I have one quick question. Sure. For the QAM.
Sure, I'll second. There we go. Comments. Now we can talk.
Okay.
For the mileage reimbursements, was that a collective thing, or is that Charlie 86 round trip to here? I thought that far. Wow.
Yeah.
Fairfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
The architects, yeah.
Farmington.
Farmington.
That's what it's outside. Fairfield.
The good news is you're right down the street.
Yes,
Yeah.
good charges for most of the time.
Mileage.
And I did have
It's just something for us to be cognizant of when we're inviting them out. They're driving from Farmington every time they come.
Right.
Make
We're
that time
happy
worthwhile.
for them to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
and QA&M invoice for 40,000. That's an installment on the design development base.
Yeah.
And it's an installment.
Yes,
is it monthly, weekly?
20% is based on percent completion.
Will we have something to see for the 20% yet, or what? At which point do we see something out of? I'm looking at you because
I know you're looking at me,
you're the closest
and I'm looking at
construction
Brian,
related person.
he would have to answer.
Brian,
Hi.
okay.
So we're not going to have a complete DD set until December. We'll give you, sheets of areas that we want to discuss at the committee meetings, but, as far as compiling a complete DD set, that'll be on the December 22nd submission. Are you ready for our update, or is that further on in the minutes?
Further on.
That's further down. That was it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
And I have been negligent in signing these and getting convening. If you could pass that down, I will endeavor to do it right here. And I've also endeavored to find the two that I might have misplaced. Anything else on that, Joan? And yeah, vote to motion.
All in favor? She motioned.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye. No line item budget transfers.
And John, this is the next item is the Colliers update.
Evening, everybody. I unfortunately do not have the response back on the third-party estimate RFP. Aaron is still having that review by the town attorney. So that is still in the review process. Not panicking because, timing wise, we still have, ample time to be able to get those proposals back. And as Brian alluded to, the DD phase is due, towards the end of December. So there is still plenty of time for that. I have put together the draft RFP for the commissioning agent. But I wanted to hold off until the cost estimating RFP was processed and out in the street before submitting that to Aaron for review. So those are the two main updates I have, and everything else is moving along. And to be honest, I'll defer to QAnon, who's next on the list and has the growing packages in process.
That part of the industry is not lacking for people that will bid though. We're not
For the
third-party estimate.
There, to be honest, there's only a couple that do that.
Okay.
So, we typically go out to the same parties, and I think I can probably guess who it's going to be, but there's not an issue with that.
I got a question regarding that third-party estimator. Since we're going the GC route, what's the benefit of having a third-party estimator?
You want to have a second estimate to compare with the architect's estimate.
No, understood, but he's already hired an estimator to do this. So we're already paying the estimator to estimate, a third party, but not third party.
Well, we don't have
He's
a GC yet.
You see,
No, understood. Normally like a design bid build environment. Like you use that to go to the GC route as a bid. If we went CM route and we're doing packages, I understand the third party estimator because we want to get in line of estimates while these packages are coming in.
technically, with the CM approach, they would provide that second.
Or whoever, somebody would, right?
Right. But with a GC approach, you want to have a second set of numbers to be able to compare against what the architect is providing.
Yeah, because what I'm saying, like in the non-building industry, these estimates aren't even close to what we're getting from design estimators. So I don't know how much of a benefit it's going to be to have another third-party estimator and have, the architect's hired estimator. Like we're going to have reconciliation meetings and they're going to reconcile between themselves, but what is that? I don't know. I mean, if that's typical of the building industry, that's
It's
fine.
typical, for that, for this process, if you do not select the CM, and you're using a GC to have a second estimate, so that you are able to, it's a checks and balances. approach, you do reconcile those, and then based on how those numbers.
But you're not reconciling with the party that's gonna do the work or bid the work.
No, but it's a means of trying to ensure that the design package is, on track, on budget, and will be, maintained and adhered to as you're going into that CD.
But there's no guarantee when we get bids, we're not going back and reconciling again with the GC.
We don't get our money back, they're way off.
Well, no, or there's no reconciling between them if they totally, both of them totally miss something.
True. Yeah,
Well, 'cause I can just see, I don't know, I've been to a lot of reconciliation meetings, again, on the CMGC route, not on this, but, and it's, in this one party's got their estimate, they got a quantity, another one's got a quantity, and they're sitting there trying to reconcile the quantity and trying to put cost to it. So it's kind of like combined effort in these reconciliation meetings, which may not be what our GC is gonna bid, or his, consultant, or whoever, his MEP person will, adhere to. There's the tying them together.
Yeah, I mean, there is that chance or possibility certainly. But typically with the GC approach, you'll want to have that second estimate provided. I mean, it's something that is optional certainly, but it is something that is usually pursued to be able to confirm that the numbers that the architect's estimate is providing, are legitimate, that that everything is caught, as opposed to, potentially missing something within either the DD phase or into the CD phase. And that
It just seems like we're kind of hiring another company to QC the estimate that we're already paying.
Well, yeah, because if we've gone construction manager route, they would have had somebody doing that, and with GC, it isn't. So they're not gonna be doing.
Give the actual bids.
Yeah, you've got the actual bids,
actual,
right? But I think I like personally, I like the idea of having somebody double check the architect's work. If we had gone.
Yeah, but it's not the architect though, he's hiring an estimate.
Well,
but they're checking
the architect's
drawing.
drawings and the
completion.
estimate that the architect is coming out with internally. So like, if I was like doing in my line of work, when I put something out there as an estimate of effort, it is from my company and how many hours and things like that. And there are times when somebody will come in and say, well, I want to look at this from an independent standpoint. Like, okay. But I think, to me, it gives us another verification that it's not just one estimator's opinion or a line at this point in time, and maybe the other independent estimator has a better handle on some areas that maybe the architects, the trades and things like that they may say, okay, well, yeah, you're off the mark here, but you can go lower here, and that way there, the overall number may be within the same range, but we will know what to look at when we start viewing what's coming in from the general contractor.
Can I ask, I need 2 questions. How much is this independent estimator going to cost? More or less.
Firm, I believe, as far as the budget is concerned, Gary, we allocated $25,000 on that budget line.
And that's question 1, $25,000. What's the value added that's going to make that $25,000 worth?
That's hard to say, not knowing, the feedback that we're going to receive at that time. Usually it's something that is worth that effort. They will end up looking and assessing the drawings, determining certain areas of specific trades and or components of the design where they may be able to provide some input as far as some potential cost savings. Usually we do see that it's worth that expense.
So that's actually part of their scope, is to help value engineer it?
Well, they can look at areas where they have prior experience, background with respect to potential cost savings, potential areas, scenarios with respect to some of the components, depending on their personal backgrounds. But usually a lot of it comes in with the MEP components, the mechanical side of things, where they can provide feedback offer assistance with respect to, what is or is not readily available as far as, certain equipment, such as the electrical. Those are the big things these days as far as the availability, durations, time frame as far as getting some equipment and things.
Well, and it's important, these people would be up to date on this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Right,
if you want
They have to be, they don't
if you-
Yeah, they have to, yeah.
If you want the electrical, you just go to Eversource.
Well, no, we're talking
No,
about,
I'm talking-
we're talking about
Oh,
like switch gears, I mean,
Oh,
you have.
no, switch gears-
Other stuff is like 18 months.
And that's Eversource. Brian, do you want to, Brian, it's Brian, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian, you want to
Yes.
weigh in on, what's the $25,000 value added to the process that we're going to pay for this?
Well, it never hurts to have a second set of eyes reviewing the whole project as a whole. Because we've worked with Gibbons for several projects. They kind of know what we put on sheets. That doesn't necessarily mean that what a contractor would see is the same thing. So even when you put it out to bid, you're going to get bids that vary widely. So having a second opinion on the actual cost and seeing the range of two different estimators would probably be more in line with a handful of GCs. There's always going to be the couple of guys that are going to bid it high just to put a big number on it. But even the ones that are going to be competitive, you're going to see a very big range, and we just want to make sure that our estimates are within the GC's opinion.
I'm still not hearing why it's worth $25,000. What I'm hearing is worth $25,000 to you, but maybe not to us.
Well,
I
I don't know for the dollar amount to it, I wasn't trying to advocate and ask the question about.
Well, is the $25,000, is that a budget or is that the actual cost for the services? And is that for a DD estimate or a DD and CD?
That's the budget for both, for DD
Okay.
and CD.
So it's two estimates.
Okay, well, we can, I'll let this go, but I'm not, I understand this process. I understand it's normal. I understand it's useful, but I guess I'll hold any further questions after that.
Well, we'll be discussing it again when the responses to the RFP come back. Right. Those.
Yes.
Now you can decide at that point, to pursue that or not, and just continue with the architect.
Okay.
Department.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is there a significance to the size of the age of the building for to have the second estimator? No, okay.
No.
I mean, but typically an independent cost estimate, you're just hiring them, you're giving them the plans, it's like you're saying bid it. But independent of the GC or the PM or whatever it is. So at the end of the day, they'll provide you with a cost. And you'll have your costs. And then that's when you would reconcile and say, oh, I missed this. I had, I don't know, 100 windows and there's really 80 or things like that. But I mean, I don't see this process that happening. I don't know. It's just, QA&M's got to QC their stuff. Their estimators should be asking them questions. They hire them, right? Anything that's missed, we should.
I think the ideal thing is that, from a full transparency standpoint, you're double checking what the architect has put in and that there's not some kind of
Who's
added.
checking? Just the guy that you see who's going to bid it.
This is really
But-
our estimate. You're hiring.
We're hiring, yeah,
Versus
they
the
report
architect
to us.
hiring. It's kind of like, why would you have your lawyer in the room and their lawyer in the room? You're signing a common document. Well, you want them to protect your interests.
Right.
So I sort of see
Okay.
it more as that.
We're the ones hiring that independent estimator.
But they're all the
to
same
do-
industry.
Right.
And there's only 3 or 4.
Well, so are lawyers. Still hiring, unfortunately.
I think that's a good explanation. I buy rooms with dueling lawyers, and all they do is add costs, by the way. That's
No comment on
the
that.
point. That's the point of dueling lawyers. I hope there are no lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I like the idea of having a double check against
But again, though, it's just a check against their estimate. There's no guarantee that either one of them is gonna have a cost that's close to or in line with what GC.
But if there's a somewhat of a consensus, then one can feel better about the numbers that we're looking at.
Right,
Yeah.
and presenting to the public too. So
I
we're
mean,
gonna
but
be
that's part, I
presenting
mean,
the
that's part of
numbers
the
prior
too,
to.
right? We're gonna take.
Yes.
Right.
So, and,
Scan,
and I think looking at it when we get the bids is,
No, I'm saying
It's
before, when we get the estimates. Or
Oh, yeah.
Right,
we're
right,
gonna be-
yes.
Yeah, there'll be
Yes.
several meetings of that, I think, yeah.
anything further, John?
Yeah, that's not.
Try to answer the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. No, I was more asking just because usually, again, the design bid build, we don't have to.
Brian? Update from you, from QA&M?
Okay, so very quickly, so we have a series of coordination meetings. We are working on getting the Eversource meeting scheduled, and we will be having a meeting with the fire marshal and building official in the near future, just to get them on board, show them where we are with the project, and get feedback from them. We had a quick interior finishes meeting with Austin and Youth and
Scott.
Family Services.
Scott.
Yeah, Scott. Sorry. And just really big picture. You know, not necessarily picking colors, but just going over types of materials that we'll be including in the project for pricing purposes. It doesn't really cost a whole lot to from one type of LVT to another, but we just want to make sure that we're putting in the correct materials, so when we go to pick colors and everything, there's no changes to the cost. Just continuing to coordinate with our consultants, the MEP, structural, and site. And I circulated to John some site plans. Is there a way to do a share screen on your end for those? The Madison site plan, the one that's highlighted.
Next page, or you want this one?
I'm not seeing the plan. Is it?
Oh, or you're not sharing your screen, you're just going.
You are screen sharing.
Yeah,
Yep, we should be screen sharing.
I think it's just frozen. It looks like it's just stuck on the file folder.
Okay, why don't you stop the share and share again?
might have to share the whole screen up there on the.
On the top left.
Oh, no, you were there. Yeah, go back.
You know me.
Good.
Don't worry, it's.
This one?
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay. So this shows the other buildings that are currently on site. You'll see the buildings labeled Chapel and Powder House. They have an existing septic tank behind them, and then beyond that they both tie into a leaching field. So the two septic tanks aren't a major concern. The leaching fields are. If you go to the next slide or the next page.
Down, it's harder to scroll down.
That's it.
Yes. Okay, so the leaching field is kind of in the bottom corner of the parking lot where it meets the plaza. So it is in the footprint of the site improvements. We are going to have to make sure the health department is satisfied that we're not, causing any negative impacts to it. Having these fully documented would be an added cost, and it is a little bit more problematic than just the tanks. We need to know the depth below grade.
Brian, can I interrupt you, please?
Yes.
Apparently there was a problem with the Zoom link. They doubled the Zoom link between us and the public meeting next door. So we have to give up the Zoom link.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And we cannot continue because then we're not in public. So I would like you to please hold your report for either a special meeting or our next meeting. Could you do that, please?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. I would like to, before I close, I would like to skip to number 10.
Thank you.
So if we finish Q&A at 9, prematurely, I apologize, we can move to number 10. And I'd like to know if we can have a quick vote on accepting those meeting dates.
I vote to approve accepting those dates. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now we can schedule next year's meetings.
Meetings, yes.
And with that, I'd like to I'd like to adjourn. I apologize to the public who are listening. My apologies to all of you who made an effort to be here. And so I move to close. Do I need any seconds or anything?
No, favor.
Okay, all in favor, here we go.
Good night.
Good night, Joe. Thank you.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for coming.